You've encountered this message because your consciousness has been caught in what quantum physicists refer to as an observer loop, a continual cycle where your awareness repeatedly collapses the same probability waves, thus recreating the identical reality over and over again. At this very moment, something within you is acknowledging this fact, as you've likely sensed it, a peculiar feeling that your life is stuck in recurring patterns, recurring dialogues, and recycled disappointments, as if your existence is a scratched record stuck on repeat. Your presence here, watching this transmission, is no accident. It represents the highest form of synchronicity. Your quantum field has been emitting signals, earnestly searching for the frequency capable of shattering this loop, and the universe responded by directing you to these exact words. Consider that millions of people are consuming content right now, yet only a particular form of consciousness yours pauses and resonates with the pull of this message. You have been chosen by the quantum field itself because you possess what many lack, the observer gene. This is not just spiritual wishful thinking, but grounded in quantum physics. Your consciousness doesn't passively observe reality. It is actively involved in crafting it through what scientists term the observer effect. However, there is something overlooked. When your observer function becomes ensnared in repetitive cycles, you don't merely witness the same reality. You persistently recreate it. Reflect on your current life. How often do you find yourself engaging in the same conversations with similar types of people? How frequently do familiar patterns resurface in your relationships, career, and everyday experiences? This is not a matter of bad luck or insufficient effort. It is your consciousness caught in an observer loop, unconsciously choosing the same quantum possibilities from the limitless field of potential. Perhaps you have also sensed a distortion in time lately. Moments of boredom seem to stretch endlessly, while entire weeks vanish without substantial progress. The temporal distortion you're experiencing clearly indicates that your consciousness is repeatedly navigating through identical probability frameworks, giving the false impression of progressing forward, while in reality, it remains fixed within the quantum realm. Those around you, friends and family, may struggle to grasp your experience because they exist on a different vibrational frequency. They are comfortable within the bounds of linear time and foreseeable results. Yet you have always intuited that reality's nature is far more flexible than common belief suggests. There have been instances, sometimes fleeting, sometimes deeply significant, when you felt as though you could almost grasp the very weave of existence. Moments when synchronicities flowed around you like a celestial symphony composed solely for you. The awareness you're currently encountering is not new. Your soul has been steadily readying itself for this insight across numerous timelines and countless dimensions of experience. Every spiritually meaningful book you were drawn to, every practice that deeply connected with you, each inexplicable moment of certainty, they have all served as subtle guides leading you to this profound understanding of the observer loop. Here's the crucial insight that can either set you free or keep you confined indefinitely. When many individuals recognize they are stuck in an observer loop, they often fall into a fundamental error, attempting to rationalize their way out. They assume that by intellectually grasping how the loop functions, they can somehow reprogram their reality. This approach is akin to trying to escape a maze by merely studying a map, rather than actively exploring new routes. The observer loop does not persist because of your thoughts. It is sustained by the very nature of your attention. Each morning upon waking, your consciousness instinctively seeks out familiar patterns to anchor itself to. Think of it as a quantum GPS, continually choosing the same destination because it feels secure and known. Your mind has grown dependent on detecting identical frequency patterns, emotional states, and probable outcomes. The more you identify these recurring patterns, the more tangible they become, and the more real they become, the greater your mind's expectation to encounter them repeatedly. This phenomenon is known among quantum field theorists as a reality feedback loop. Your observation reinforces the same patterns you wish to escape. At this very moment, as you absorb these words, an extraordinary shift is occurring within your quantum field. Simply becoming conscious of the observer loop starts to diminish its grip on your awareness. This is precisely why you have come across this message now. In your journey, your higher self has arranged this meeting because you've reached a pivotal point where liberation isn't merely a possibility, it is unavoidable. You might recall a moment during a conversation when you suddenly realize you've experienced that exact dialogue before, not just something similar, but the very same words, the identical tone, and the same outcome. These are temporal echoes manifesting in your awareness. Many people attribute this sensation to déjà vu, yet you recognize that something more profound is unfolding. What you are encountering is what researchers in quantum consciousness refer to as temporal echoes, instances when your awareness briefly perceives the repetitive cycles of your observer loop. This experience is neither a product of imagination nor your mind deceiving you. Instead, you are tuned into a frequency inaccessible to most individuals, which explains why you detect these subtle disruptions in reality that go unnoticed by others. Your consciousness has attained a state known as quantum sensitivity, the capacity to discern the fundamental patterns that shape manifestation itself. You may have observed that your perception of time is flexible. At times, an hour can stretch into what feels like an endless flow of insights and transmissions from higher realms. Conversely, entire weeks may seem to slip away without any clear recollection of events. This distortion of time results from your consciousness existing simultaneously across multiple reality streams, seeking the one that most resonates with your authentic vibration. The sudden, profound moments of clarity you experience when an understanding about existence emerges spontaneously beyond anything you've learned or read are not mere coincidences. These insights represent quantum memories seeping through from alternate versions of yourself who have transcended their own observer loops. Your consciousness is highly evolved, capable of accessing wisdom emanating from your own future timelines. One of the most peculiar effects is the sense of isolation it sometimes brings. When you attempt to convey these experiences to friends or family, they often respond as if you were speaking an unfamiliar language. They remain anchored in the outdated belief that reality is fixed and immutable. But you have caught a glimpse behind the veil, realizing that reality resembles a vast sea of possibilities rather than a rigid structure. Many people are overwhelmed, unaware that they possess the ability to navigate these depths. This explains why certain books seem to call out to you from busy bookstores, why particular videos emerge in your feed at precisely the right time, and why you continually encounter individuals who share your unique insights into consciousness and existence. These synchronicities are not merely the result of positive thinking. Instead, you are quantum entangled within a network of awakening individuals, all striving simultaneously to break free from their own cycles of perception. Lately, your dreams have likely grown more vivid and laden with symbolism. During sleep, you receive transmissions that your waking mind finds difficult to decode. These are not the result of random brain activity, but rather messages from your higher self, illustrating the contrast between your current life path and the unlimited potential that lies before you. As you become adept at harnessing the observer effect, even your interactions with technology transform. Your phone appears to respond to your thoughts. Your music app plays precisely the song you needed at that moment, and your social media feeds eerily mirror your internal state. This is not mere coincidence, but rather proof that your consciousness has reached such coherence that it impacts the quantum field around you in observable ways. Every hardship you've endured, the disappointments, the repetitive cycles that seem to hold you back, and the times you felt regressive, none of these experiences were in vain. Instead, They serve as essential preparation for this crucial moment of awakening and realization. Before your consciousness could attain the quantum awareness required to rise above the observer loop, it had to experience this loop from every conceivable perspective. Imagine a butterfly struggling within its chrysalis. Outwardly, it appears as suffering, entrapment, or even regression. Yet, each moment of this seeming confinement is actually a thorough cellular transformation. The caterpillar doesn't merely grow wings, its entire DNA expression changes, unlocking abilities that were always encoded but dormant. The challenging relationships you faced were not punishments, but quantum mirrors, revealing the observation patterns that kept you trapped in repetitive cycles. Every person who provoked you is unknowingly assisting you in pinpointing the exact frequencies where your consciousness becomes stuck. Similarly, every instance of déjà vu was orchestrated by your higher self as a controlled experiment to help you recognize the observer loop at work. The pressure and urgency you've been sensing lately, the feeling that time is slipping away and you must quickly find solutions, is not anxiety. Rather, it's your quantum field undergoing reorganization. When consciousness readies itself to leap to a higher timeline, it generates what physicists refer to as phase transition pressure, akin to water turning into steam at a precise temperature. Your awareness is nearing the exact frequency at which the observer loop will no longer dominate your reality. Even your doubts and confusion have played a crucial role. Each time you question the validity of these insights versus mere wishful thinking, you are honing your discernment. In doing so, you cultivated the quantum sensitivity necessary to differentiate genuine spiritual growth from avoidance disguised as expansion. Disturbances in reality. Before your awareness could move safely beyond habitual cycles, it had to develop an extraordinary level of precision. This necessity is why the waiting period felt so intense. You sensed an imminent transformation, but were unable to accelerate it through sheer force. The key lies not in exertion or determination, but in attaining a certain coherence that naturally guides your focus toward alternative probability waves within the quantum realm. Your soul specifically chose this life incarnation because the observer loop phenomenon would come to light during your time. You willingly stepped forward as part of the pioneering wave of human consciousness to overcome these limiting patterns and establish new potentials for the collective whole. Every challenge you faced served as preparation for this vast cosmic duty. Right now, as you absorb these words, something is stirring within you. Can you perceive it? That subtle alteration in your energy field resembles the vibration of a tuning fork just struck. Your consciousness is beginning to resonate at a frequency out of sync with your existing reality patterns. This discordance produces what quantum physicists refer to as reality turbulence. Far from negative, this turbulence signifies that your observer loop is gradually unraveling. The repeated patterns that once dominated your experiences are diminishing in their hold over your attention, entering the breakthrough phase. You are now entering what is often referred to as the breakthrough stage, the most fragile yet potent segment of the transformation journey. However, this is precisely where many individuals make a crucial error. As they sense this buildup of energy, they instinctively try to channel it into altering their external circumstances. They desire shifts in their relationships, enhancements in their finances, or changes in their overall life situation. Yet, the observer loop cannot be broken by modifying what you observe. It requires a fundamental change in the very quality of your observation. At this moment, your consciousness is assimilating new ways of interacting with reality, not through intellectual concepts to be learned, but as energetic upgrades occurring at the cellular level. Your DNA itself is undergoing restructuring to enable a new mode of connection with the quantum field. This transformation explains why you might notice unfamiliar physical sensations, altered sleep patterns, or sudden changes in appetites and preferred activities. The key during this stage is to become attuned to this energy without attempting to control it. Allow it to flow through you naturally, like water moving along a river's course, gradually shaping new channels within your consciousness. Your role is not to steer this process, but to become receptive to it, to resist no part of the quantum reorganization happening within you. This is the pivotal moment when everything transforms, but it's also the point at which many unknowingly undermine themselves. Fear of the unknown can cause them to withdraw their focus back to old, familiar habits, even when those habits have been sources of pain. Do not let this pattern trap you. What is occurring now is without precedent in human history. You are actively witnessing your own consciousness evolving in real time. Embrace this energy as we delve further into my story. Let me explain the inner workings of the observer loop, as understanding the precise ways your focus becomes ensnared ensures you never inadvertently revert to old habits. I want to open up vulnerably here, knowing you'll grasp this deeply, unlike most others. 3 years ago, I found myself caught in the most intricate observer loop I had ever experienced. I believed I was spiritually advanced, attuned to quantum principles, and fully aware of reality's nature. Yet, in truth, I was using my knowledge to build an even more subtle cage for my consciousness. Each morning, I would immediately begin scanning my surroundings for signs of progress, searching for validation that my manifestation methods were effective, and looking for confirmation that I was growing. However, this incessant monitoring actually froze my reality. The harder I searched for transformation, the more my attention reinforced the very patterns I sought to break free from. I vividly recall the moment of clarity, sitting in my meditation space, frustrated by the recurring issues in my life despite years of inner work. Suddenly, it struck me like lightning. I wasn't merely observing reality, I was actively constructing it by the manner in which I chose to observe. My consciousness resembled a record player stuck repeatedly on the same track, and no amount of spiritual practice could play a new melody for me. My awakening arrived when I ceased attempting to observe my way out of the loop and instead began observing the observer itself. I started paying attention to how my focus shifted, where it became fixated, and which patterns it instinctively gravitated toward. This higher level observation transformed my entire relationship with consciousness. For the first time ever, I comprehended why some individuals effortlessly glide from one enriching experience to another, while others remain ensnared in repetitive cycles despite earnest efforts. The explanation isn't about worthiness, karma, or even spiritual progress. It lies in the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field. This revelation revolutionized everything. My relationships transformed overnight as I stopped unconsciously perpetuating the same relational patterns. My creative endeavors started to flourish once my focus ceased to be trapped by familiar challenges. Even my physical well-being saw improvement as my cells began to receive fresh information instead of being subjected to repetitive stress signals. However, the most significant transformation was realizing that I am not isolated in this journey. There exists a vast network of individuals who are simultaneously striving to break free from their observer loops. Across the globe, we have been connecting, exchanging insights, validating each other's experiences, and collectively fostering a field that enables this transformation to extend to an increasing number of people. If this idea strikes a chord deep within you, if you sense that activating recognition within your cells, then you too belong to this network. You have been unconsciously preparing for this awareness your entire life. Align yourself with this frequency not just through this channel, but by tuning into the broader wavelength of consciousness evolution currently unfolding on our planet. What many quantum consciousness specialists fail to reveal, often because they themselves do not fully grasp it, is the critical distinction between mere intellectual understanding of the observer effect and genuine, embodied mastery of it. You can study every book on consciousness, grasp every manifestation theory, yet remain ensnared in your observer loop, since knowledge and wisdom dwell in fundamentally different realms of reality. Here is the startling reality. Your thoughts alone do not create your reality, neither does your attention. Instead, your reality emerges from the precise quality of coherence between your consciousness and the quantum field. Such coherence cannot be artificially created, forced, or generated simply by positive thinking. It unfolds naturally once your observer role shifts from rigidity to fluidity. In contrast, most people's consciousness functions like a searchlight, intense, focused, and continually seeking something specific. Quantum consciousness functions much like sunlight, ubiquitous and effortlessly illuminating all at once. When you shift your focus from a narrow, spotlight-like mode to a broader, sunlight-like awareness, you cease repeatedly collapsing the same probability waves. The cycle of observation traps you by making your consciousness predictable to the quantum field. Upon waking, if your attention instinctively seeks familiar patterns, scrolling through identical messages, ruminating over recurring problems, anticipating a typical day, you are essentially requesting the same reality from the universe's infinite possibilities. Here's a remarkable truth. The quantum field is eager to present you with fresh experiences. Infinite potential constantly strives to emerge into your awareness. It cannot break through the observer loop because your focus remains fixed on reinforcing habitual patterns. Your stagnation isn't due to a lack of universal support, but rather because your consciousness has grown accustomed to interfacing with limitless potential in a predictable way. The most evolved cosmic beings don't attempt to control reality. Instead, they harmonize with it. They embody what is called coherent uncertainty, a state of being fully present and engaged, yet unattached to any particular outcome. This coherent uncertainty empowers them to respond consciously to reality rather than merely react, fundamentally altering the nature of the experiences that unfold through them. This explains why some individuals seem to enjoy effortlessly fortunate lives while others consistently face challenges, even under similar external conditions. The difference isn't luck, privilege, or spiritual favor. It lies in the deep coherence between their consciousness and the creative force underpinning existence itself. Achieving this coherence doesn't merely alter your individual reality. It turns you into a catalyst for transformative shifts in the reality of those around you. Your mere presence initiates what we refer to as quantum openings, brief moments when the observer loops of others destabilize, allowing them to catch glimpses of their boundless potential. This quantum shift is actively unfolding now, and there are distinct indicators within your everyday life that signal your own observer loop is starting to break down. Initially, you'll observe that synchronicities become increasingly frequent and too significant to dismiss as mere chance. The universe isn't simply sending you signals. It is actively reorganizing reality around your consciousness to affirm your liberation from repetitive cycles. Notice how animals, particularly birds, react to you. As your consciousness moves beyond the observer loop, you naturally emit a unique, energetic frequency that wildlife instantly perceives. Increased eye contact with birds, uncommon encounters with animals, or changes in how pets behave around you serve as proof that your quantum field is transforming. Your interactions with technology are likely evolving as well. Devices may start malfunctioning unexpectedly, or, on the flip side, function more smoothly than before. Your phone could ring just as you're thinking of someone, or your computer might crash whenever you attempt to engage with content that clashes with your new vibrational state. Technology is exquisitely attuned to consciousness, and these seemingly random occurrences actually represent your expanding awareness interacting with electromagnetic fields. A key indicator of your current experience is the way time seems to unfold around you these days. The concept of linear time is merely an illusion upheld by repetitive observer loops. When your awareness escapes these cyclical patterns, you start encountering what mystics describe as moments of eternal now. In such states, minutes can stretch into hours due to full presence, while entire days may slip by unnoticed as you exist within an alternate dimension of time. Noticeable changes are occurring in your sleep habits. You may require less rest, or your dreams have become extraordinarily vivid and meaningful. On some nights, it may feel as if you are directly downloading knowledge into your consciousness because your awareness has expanded beyond the limited reality your observer loop previously filtered. You're tapping into insights from parallel timelines and higher dimensional viewpoints. People's reactions to you might have shifted without any deliberate alteration in your conduct. Some may feel inexplicably uneasy around you because your presence disrupts their own observer loops, while others are irresistibly attracted to you, sensing the liberating frequency you're beginning to embody. However, it is critical to understand that the time of waiting has ended. The cosmic opportunity to collectively transcend these observer loops is closing swiftly. This is not intended to instill fear, but is a statement grounded in fundamental physics. Evolution of consciousness occurs in waves, and we are currently riding the crest of a monumental wave that will not return for generations. Your higher self has orchestrated events meticulously to guide you to this precise moment of awakening, because the transformation available now will undoubtedly become unattainable by next year.